What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Endgame podcast, talking about Miss Marvel episode 1. I watched this literally like 20 minutes. I got done 20 minutes before we started the last Obi-Wan show. So Miss Marvel episode 1, if you guys haven't seen the episode 1, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about Miss Marvel episode 1. I went into this episode, I'm going to be straight up with you. I wanted to hate it. I went into this going, you know what? Like before today, I was going in going, I was going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate it. Not that I loved it, but right before I watched it, I said, you know what? This is about a teenage girl. I'm a 44-year-old man. Okay. I know nothing about the character itself. So I was like, all right, let me keep an open mind. Let me just watch this as a show and not a Marvel show. Okay, just watch it as a show and criticize it based on it. Doesn't have a good story. Doesn't have good acting. Doesn't have good scenes, good editing, good directing, and such like that. Then go into what the lore is. But I don't really know much about this character besides of what I've played in Marvel's Avengers video game and what the character is there and a little bit of the cartoons I've seen, okay? So I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of Miss Marvel, right? I'm not a fan like I am of Iron Man and Hulk and Thor and Wolverine and all the other characters that I like in Marvel. This character was created way after I stopped reading comic books and stuff like that. And this is a new generation character for people that are a lot younger than myself. So going into this, I try to be as, as biased as possible about trying to hate because of what's happening in the MCU. And I'm just trying to look at this as a show. Is it a interesting show? Okay. So before I get to my reviews and thoughts, if you like what we do here, please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. You can go above and beyond by hitting the like button, subscribe button. You can go above and beyond by becoming a member. Membership is 99 cents all the way up to $4.99. There's gifted subs or gifted memberships, and there's also super chats, and you can do special thanks after the fact on these videos. Other than that, I do appreciate you for coming out and hanging out with us, and we'll take a call-in section after this as well, like we do with the Obi-Wan series and what we've done with all the other series that we've done. If you like this type of content, we're here Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern doing the Obi-Wan show and now doing the Miss Marvel show. All right. So, Miss Marvel. I went in and I was like, all right, let me watch this and see if it is just, see if it's good. And I can tell you right off the bat, I actually like the style that they're doing here. And what I mean by that is I was trying to put myself in a situation where a lot of movies that I watched when I was younger that I liked in my teenage years and whatnot, I was like, before we ask, set in 2025. Okay. So like movies like Can't Hardly Wait, or like a Saved by the Bell. Like Can't Hardly Wait's a movie. Saved by the Bell is a TV show. There's like campy, fun. Like I'm trying to put myself as a teenager watching this and a show, not a Disney Plus show, but just a show. And I really like the stylizing of it with the way she kind of like drifts off and has like this imagination and all these drawings. So she's an artist. She wants to draw. She's a comic book nerd. She's a podcaster, right? She's a YouTuber. She makes videos on certain characters. One of the things that she says, after the opening dialogue, she says, my next episode is Thor. Does Thor play video games? Is he a gamer type of thing? And then she makes it and the thumbnails and the stuff, like she puts a lot of time in as this setting up this character of who she is. And within just the first 2 minutes of the show, if you knew nothing about what this character was as far as that Miss Marvel, just as the character, okay, she's a fan of Miss Marvel. She's a fan of the Avengers. She's a geek. She's a dork. She's a content creator type of thing, right? So you already know much. We know more about this character in the first 2 minutes of Miss Marvel than we know of Reva in 4 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay? We know a lot about this character already just in the opening 2 minutes of this. Her room is just drudged with different different pictures and different posters of Miss Marvel. She's a huge fan of Captain Marvel, right? You get introduced for her mom, her father, her brother. She lives in a very traditional Pakistani home, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Pakistan or is it is there a different nationality? I'm sorry if I screw that up. So you can see the hierarchy in this family. Like, she's the youngest one. Her brother gets all the treatment very well. He's treated like a king because he's the older son. Yet she gets treated like she can't do anything right. It opens up with her taking her driver's test. She goes out, and when she gets in the car, you see that she's about to take her test, and the whole vibe here, the way it's cut, the way it's edited, everything like that. It's supposed to be a fun, campy type of thing, right? It takes place in Jersey City. She's about to go, and she steps on the gas and crashes into the car, and the car happens to be the instructor that she does. Now, I thought this was pretty funny. Like, why would you drive a car like that if she's been practicing driving and whatnot? Is it Pakistani? Thank you very much. Okay. So why would you drive like that, first off? And then there's no like repercussions for what happened here. Like, for having strict parents, I know her parents are like protecting her, and they don't do anything to her herself, but the instructor. And they're like, oh, how could you do this? Did you? And they start picking on her, which is sort of like the fun part of it, right? So they're very strict, but yet they don't discipline her at all for wrecking the family car, into the instructor's car. They think it's the driver's test or the driver instructor's fault. Meanwhile, she's very, like, you're embarrassing me. Like, I crashed the car into our instructor's car, and they're yelling at the instructor, and she's just kind of standing there like, okay, whatever. I really do like you can see the, what she's looking like, right? I do like, my favorite part of this whole episode is the way of editing. The editing in this is a much better editing job than what we've seen through Moon Knight, what we've seen through Obi-Wan, what we saw through Hawkeye. The editing in this show is very good. I like the editing style of it. I like the way they're telling the story of it. It does get weak at the end, but in the very beginning of this, establishing what we have here, I almost felt like I was watching a 2-hour film, and it ended at 45 minutes or 49 minutes or whatever it was. But if this was just a movie and this was an origin story of her, I think they actually have a really good first act right now with this episode. Okay, with this episode. It was like, it's like the first act going into the second act, and then it cuts, right? I really feel like they had a really good first act with this to establish what the character was. I think the acting, I forget how to pronounce her name. It's Ima Vellani. Ima Vellani, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Ima Vellani. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think she's actually doing really good. Now, this is her first acting gig. This is her first acting gig that she had in the. I hated the editing in this. Too many jump cuts and montages, but that's why I liked it, Krebsy, because it worked for what this is. It's set in for teenagers. It's set for what that is. I agree with you. I don't like jump cuts and stuff like that, but the stylizing of the edits and the way it's directed and stuff is for that, right? It's cut because she's cutting it. Like, it's edited like she would be cutting her videos for her YouTube video, right? Hence why in the very beginning when they were showing the stylization of it, it's her. Like, it's told from her perspective of it. And that's why it's edited like that. Even the split screen that happens when her gay principal is talking to her and it splits, and then all of a sudden it starts to merge them together and it has that split screen down the middle. It's everything is happening from her perspective, right? When she's telling the story of how they do everything for the episode. So I can see why you don't like it, but I appreciate their edit because that's the way it's stylized for. Okay, so her mom tells her telling her a story while they're in the car and whatnot, and she's just like, oh god, they're talking again. She starts to fantasize out the window, and then you see Captain Marvel's flying. It's the little paper mache thing that's in her brain because she's an artist, and then it flies off, and she's fantasizing about being a superhero or meeting her favorite superhero. When she gets to school, you can see that people are not pronouncing her name correctly, which this is like basically because she's Pakistani. She's getting picked on because she's different, because she looks different, because she's a girl, because she's a nerd, whatever it is, right? And all these people, right, they pronounce her name wrong. They slam her head when she's playing dodgeball. She's just like, and then all of a sudden you see her friend. Again, her friend, this is the Ned character to Peter Parker type of thing, right? She's the superhero. This is her best friend esque type of thing. And I think the chemistry between her and her friends are pretty good. You know, the acting in this show, I thought for Ima's first gig, I think she's doing a really good job. Now the bar's not set too high here, considering all the other shows that we've watched. There's a lot of bad acting in those shows, and I have to say that for someone that's seasoned as other people in other shows, and then her as her first gig, I think she's doing a pretty good job for what she has. Now, the writing in this show is not the best, but the writing for any of these shows has never been great. Okay, so she's doing really good for what she's got. Right? There's a couple of moments in the show that they have going back and forth between her and her friend, or just set up. It looks kind of forced the way they're acting and the way their stuff. But you can see the chemistry between them. You can also tell that her friend, and I'll be honest, I don't know his name. It's what's her best friend's name? The kid's name? I think she calls him by his last name, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, you can tell that he likes her, and she is in the friend zone to him. Okay, obviously you can tell that. Sean says, I feel like this show takes place during the events of Secret Invasion and will lead directly into the Secret Invasion and will lead directly into Captain Marvel 2. Perhaps. I mean, again, I don't know anything about this character, so I can't really speculate like I do with Star Wars or the other shows that we already know of. So this is all new to me. So I don't know much about where this is going until. Because I'm watching this as a brand new person, right? I'm watching this not knowing anything of this character or the backstory of this character or where this character is going. So I'm looking at this and seeing if they can tell me a good story each episode. Sort of like I knew nothing about Kate Bishop, and I knew nothing about Falcon and Winter Soldier as far as the backstories of those things. So going into those shows, it's like a fresh set of eyes looking at this and see if they can tell me a story. So you can tell her other friend, also another nationality. It's got the check boxes across the board. Everyone's very diverse. So diverse is in the show, and it covers the diversity quota. You can see that the girl that she runs into on the stairs, she's like the popular girl, but at the same time, like the mean girls. Like you almost get like a Mean Girls vibe a little bit in this show, just a little bit, just because of the stylizing of what's happening, right? You can see that kids nowadays, they're all about the followers and whatnot. So I would be very unpopular in school with my follower count. Okay, then you hear the principal come on the PA speaker and then talk to her. And I thought this was just a little overblown. It's like he's like, I'm not a teacher. I'm your I'm a friend or whatever. And I was just like, oh boy, what is happening here? Like I disagree with everything this guy's saying. As a character, Bruno's her best friend's name. I hated this. I hated this 100%. I was like, this is the reason that the education system is what it is, because they're trying to be friends. and not actual adults teaching the kids something. So she had a bad week. She's doodling, making her teachers look like the devil. She's got her science experiment blow up in her face, and then she got hit in the head with a dodgeball and whatnot. But again, the drawing comes to life, and I like the stylization of that. It's like her imaginations of what she is as the character. So the principal's trying to be her best friend, but then she's like listening to him and dozing off and imagining of other things, saying that you have to figure out your whole life basically in the next couple of weeks or whatever. So again, the edit cuts around. They end up at the convenience store. They're talking about what her outfit's going to be. It looks like Bruno, I guess, works at the convenience store. I think he works there. And he brings the costume. He's working on the costume, to airbrushing the costume, because the big goal of this episode is that they're going to what would be Comic-Con, which is called AvengerCon or whatnot. This scene I really liked when she was when they're talking and driving down the street on their bikes. He's like, "What are you going to be?" And she's describing what it could be like, Captain Panther or all these other things. And there's these drawings on these buildings that are like alive as they move across the thing. You can see it. You can see it happening. Like, right. Like I think it's very cool. I thought this was very cool. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the thing. So I love the shot, the tracking shot of them, and then as the background, showing where she's from, what part of town she's in, and then merging both things as far as the town, what type of personality she is, and then the imagination that she has in this. So he lives above and telling me his parents own it. Okay, so there you go. So I just really like this whole tracking shot. So one continuous shot, and you have the buildings stay in the background and whatnot, and the canvas, like, see what I'm saying? Like, as they come around, the camera turns. It's a one continuous shot, and as they talk about her favorite character, Captain Marvel, and whatnot, right? And then she says we could be like, again, still still one tracking shot going across the whole thing. I thought this was one of the best shots of the whole show. Talks about Zombie Hulk or whatever, and she talks like, it was a Captain Zombie Hulk or whatever it was, and superpowers eating people, and then it ends with this shot here, and there's a whole bunch of drawings up on the wall. I thought it was a really cool shot. I thought it was really, really interesting and really cool. And then it cuts back to, here's another really cool shot that happens where she tosses herself over the couch. I don't know if anyone's ever else done this. You're on the couch and you flip yourself over. And when she flips herself over, the camera follows her and it comes across, and it happens to when she goes upside down. So now you're looking at her upside down as she looks at the television set. And I thought it was pretty cool because then she turns on the TV, she's watching, and then you can see. So this is giving the aspect of, well, she's just a kid, right? She's just a kid. She's watching. Her parents come in and they start bugging her, trying to just bother her whatsoever, right? So her mom gives her this box, and she says, "This is your grandma's things." And she says, "Apparently I have 4 days to figure out my whole life." And she's like, "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Kamala," right? So then she's watching the show. And then she sees the box. She focuses on the box and flips back around. And then this is another cool shot. The camera spins with her and then brings upright, right? And this is giving you the sense of you're her, right? And you're seeing what from the perspective of the girl. So she opens up the box, and this is her life being upside down. Then it turns around, and not to be so serious, now this box has got something in it, which she opens up, and it has a bunch of knick-knack stuff, and then she finds this bracelet. Now, what I don't really like, and again, I don't really know much about this character except from the video game. And the video game itself, I liked her powers. I liked how she got her powers because she was on the aircraft carrier, the helicarrier, as the thing blew up. Now, I don't know if that's how she got her powers in the comic book or not, but in the video game, she got exposed to, and she becomes an Inhuman. Here, she puts this bracelet on, and she gets her powers. And now I feel like we're in the Shang-Chi era again, because there's just a magical bracelet, and now we're going to try to figure out where this magical bracelet came from. excuse me, magical bracelet came from. And the bracelet looks it looks cheap. It does. It looks cheap. And if she could take it off and on the entire time, now we have like a Green Lantern thing going on here. And I don't know. I don't know if I really like this aspect of the character right now that they changed where she had the powers intense. Because I think it would have been interesting if at this convention, like the game, that something happens and she gets exposed and then she becomes superpowered, where she just puts this bracelet on and then she becomes superpowered. I don't know. It's a little strange to me. What's going on, Edge? You found a bracelet once? All I got was a rash. That's right. Yeah, power through fashion. Yeah, it's a little weird. It's just a little weird. I think this is probably one of the weakest aspects of it because she could lose her power real easy, right? She gets in a fight, someone grabs her wrist and pulls it off, or you know what I mean? It's like something she could lose. And I don't feel like a superhero, and again, I know the Green Lantern can lose the ring or whatnot, but I don't think a superhero should be able to lose their power in a way where it's not very, you know what I mean? Marvel's Avengers is semi-comic book accurate. Okay. I just don't feel like you should be able to lose your power in a fight, right? Like, I have superpowers. All of a sudden, someone grabs my wrist and pulls my bracelet off, and now I'm just a normal person. What are you going to do, right? It's almost like taking your hand on someone's head like this, you know what I mean? When they're swinging at you, and you make them powerless type of thing. It just feels a little weird. That's all. Okay. So the mom literally says, take this box, put it upstairs immediately. Why can't she do it? The brother says, because she's going on shopping with me. So now this is showing that really she hates being with her mom, right? Her mom is this boring person, and she doesn't let her have any fun, and she wants her to be so adult-like and whatnot. So we've seen this story 1,000 times. It happens every day to any other kid around the world. We literally just watched the other movie a couple months ago. It's was it Turning Red, which is an animated show, which is almost the same type of plot points as what's happening here in the show. Again, I like how it's cut. It's very quick. It's showing jumping around, going to all these different places. Like, here's the thing. Time passes in this show. Something that doesn't happen in the other show we've been watching of Obi-Wan, right? Like, there's a spot where they're walking down the street, then there's a jump cuts to her at a fair, and there she's eating food, then it jumps again where they have a bunch of bags in her hands, meaning they've been out for quite a bit, and it's been a long day, okay? You see what I'm saying? Like, there's time passing, and they don't do this. Like, it comes back, and she's bored and tired. It cuts back to another jump cut of her looking at bracelets and whatnot, going shopping. There's a lot of stuff that's going on here, so much so that the time of day has changed and, like, the shadows are longer in the afternoon, okay? And it does well. So this show already has things that the other shows haven't been doing, which is progressing time. Like, you know how many days have passed since the day started. Okay, when she went to school, then she came back the next day, then she went on a... You see what I'm saying? It's progressing time, something that this should all do. Okay? So, right now, as they're going through the town, basically this is all representing of the culture and where they are in Jersey. Okay, showing the different nationalities and stuff that they're around, and showing that there's lots of different things with lots of different cultures on there. That's basically what the whole thing was. She ends up in a dress shop. And in this dress shop, she hates being this, you got to wear this dress, you got to do what I say. Her mom's like, basically she's in jail, right? She feels like she's being tortured, doesn't really like what she has. And then this neighbor or friend of her mom's comes in, they start talking about a girl down the street or in the neighborhood, and that she gave everything away to go discover herself and go off. And what the parents are talking about is basically where they have to settle down, put a ring on it, and basically just be happy with your life or what you got. And Kamala wants to explore. She has this imagination that she wants to get out there and see the world and whatnot. And obviously, that's what Captain Marvel is, right? She gets to leave. They even make a reference in the very beginning where everyone makes fun of Captain Marvel for leaving, and then she says, "Well, she's got things to do, right? Girl wants to be a girl," type of thing. So she's done that. It cuts back to the house while she's out with her mom. Her best friend Bruno here is hanging out with her father and hooking up, the robot device in his house. I don't want to say the name because it make people's houses go off. But basically, he's the tech guy. He's the smart guy. He's bonding with, so they're good friendship. He's always hanging over the house, always been there. The mom walks in, says, "Do you want dinner?" and whatnot, right? So again, people in the show have been established, and you know who they are and what they are and how long they've been with the characters, and which other shows haven't done. So they're doing a really good job so far in the very beginning, telling you who these cast of characters are in the very first episode, in the origin of it. Okay. So as this happens, again, it's nighttime now. Time has passed. Imagine that. It's dark outside. It started when it was light outside. And this is a way to show progressed time. So it's another day that passes. Her best friend's like, "All right, well, I'm going to go." And she's like, "I'll get you some food and whatnot." And they leave. So then she has to explain, "I want to go to the Comic-Con or Avenger Con." And they're like, "Okay." But her mom is like the bad guy. I don't know if there's an antagonist in this or if the antagonist is her mom. Okay? And this is kind of weird, right? Again, I know nothing about the series. I know nothing about the character. I don't even know if Miss Marvel has a bad guy. Okay? If there's a bad guy. But it seems like right now that the antagonist is her family. Her family, her life, everything around her is the antagonist. And I don't know if this is going to work in the series, because by the end of the series, I think we'll have someone that's a bad guy for her moving forward. But as far as the bad guy in this series, I'm not sure. Even the end credit scene, I don't know who those are. I don't know if they're going to be the antagonists of the rest of the show. Okay. I think it's more of her mom is the antagonist. Cujo says Tony losing his suit would require someone prying it off of him. It can't be taken off of like a jewelry. Right. Did someone say that Tony? Oh, Krebsy said Tony can lose a suit. Hawkeye can lose his bow. But yeah, he can lose his bow, but he's still a trained assassin. You can't take his trained assassin away from him. You see what I'm saying? This is a 16-year-old girl, and she can just lose her powers. And without the bracelet, she loses her strength and everything else. You take his bow away from him, he can kill you with his fingers. He can punch you to death. She's not a trained fighter. It's a little different. There was a Shang-Chi Easter egg with the graffiti on one of the brick walls when they went out shopping. Oh, okay. I didn't see it. I didn't notice it. Loses it. He still is the smartest man around. Exactly. There is an antagonist, and it's her mother. Her mom is the swordsman of the series. Okay. And none of you can read. None of us can read. Apparently, the villain for the show is Red Dagger. I don't even know who that is. So, as she's explaining to her mom and dad about what AvengerCon is, her mom's like, "Is that where you're going out partying and stuff like that?" Like, they're just detached. This is the exact same story as Turning Red. It's a girl that is going through changes and becoming a woman and wants to be her own person, and her parents won't let her grow up, and they're very strict on her and whatnot. So he says the mom and dad are like, "No, you can't go," and that's the end of it. And she's like, "You don't trust me," and the dad's like, "We trust you, but we don't trust everyone else." Okay, so she says you can't go, and the son comes walking in. He can do whatever he wants, right? He can do whatever he wants and gets away, and that's just it. So she's basically a prisoner in her own house. She's in her bedroom, and then she comes up with the like she wants to go out. Talks to her brother. Her brother talks to the parents to make him go. He says some good stuff, and they kind of change their mind. Okay, she's in her room, and she kind of just has an idea. Starts texting Bruno. And then Bruno gets text, and you can see, again, I like the style of it. So the text, as he stops in the middle of the street to look at his phone, first of all, stopping in the middle of the street, you're an idiot. But second of all, the text is on the road. And I don't know. I like the stylized of what they're doing in the show. I thought it was pretty good. Okay. So my favorite part of the show is the actual editing. The editing in this show is actually pretty good. The cinematography of it is pretty good. So Bruno ends up and goes into his house, and he's chatting with her. And again, they do it again. There's an emoji, okay, on the window, okay, right? The emoji's on the window. So you can see the conversation of what's happening without hearing what's going on in the text message, okay? I thought that was pretty neat, okay? First, the face comes up, and then he says, "What now?" Okay? And it's interesting. Again, it's interesting on how they're doing this whole thing. So as it's texting, again, the little signs above the door, it was like waiting, and then all of a sudden it comes in, and then she's asking a question. So this is how storytelling is happening. As it goes up, you see the sad face because she's angry because it fell through. So again, good storytelling by using visuals and whatnot, something that we haven't seen in the other shows up to this point. Okay. So this guy, now you know more about him. He's a tech wizard. He makes things. He's working on gloves for her and whatnot, and as the best friend. Here's another great scene. It's a landscape. It's a wide scape of the city, and the clouds are moving by. And what does this represent? It means that time is happening, and look, it becomes daytime. So you know another night passes. So she wakes up, and she's putting on their costume because she's trying it out. She's looking at herself in the mirror, and because she wants to be Captain Marvel. She wants to win the competition at the VentureCon. And then all of a sudden, her mom walks in, and she grabs a bathrobe, and she throws it over. Okay. And her mom's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm stretching." She's like, "Why are you acting so weird?" And then all of a sudden she says, "Hold up. Your brother talked to us, and you can go to the thing." And she shows her, she can go in as Hulk, but she made her an outfit that's a Pakistani style outfit with like a six-pack stitched onto the thing. And then her dad comes in, and this at this point I'm being cringed out here. I'm like, oh, poor girl. Okay. All of a sudden her dad walks in, and he's the Hulk. Okay. Which I thought was pretty funny, to be honest. Now as a dad, coming in and trying to embarrass your kid. I mean, I'm there for it. Okay. So as this is happening, her dad comes in and he's hulking out. He's super excited. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go with you. You got 2 hours to be there. It's going to be fun." And she's like, "No, I don't want to go. That's ugly. I don't want to wear that." And basically she comes across pretty harsh. And as a dad, I can feel that as well. You know, like you're trying not to. She's like, "Yeah, this is there's no big Hulk or little Hulk, right?" Because she's a geek, she's a nerd. Just like we criticize Star Wars and MCU, she's criticizing her parents right now. Like, look, there's no little Hulk and big Hulk. There's just Hulk. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff, and she's like, they're all heroes, and she's like, this is mine and Bruno's thing. Okay, like don't ruin it. Okay, and her dad's like, "Oh, come on," right? And Abu, the dad, he gets his heart broken, and I'm a little upset about it because I'm a dad now. And I don't want my son telling me like, "Yeah, Dad, you're not cool, right? You're dumb." But at the same time, I'm not his friend, right? So they're both super mad, and then all of a sudden they're not going. Even the dad says, "Yeah, you're not going," right? I mean, look at this disappointment. We've all seen this face before. We were on the receiving end when we were kids, and now I'm giving that face to my son. Minus the green on the face. He says, "No, you're not going," right? Walks out the room, and she's just really bad. Now, if you notice, it's nighttime again. So another day has passed, right? Another day has passed. So she's got a plan. They meet up on the rooftop, And they go through this whole plan of like what's going to happen. And she's like, you know, it was really bad. They didn't take it well. They wanted to do this whole thing. He's giving her compliments like, you know, you're going to save the world. You could tell that he loves her or likes her, and she's clueless. She's clueless that he likes her because he's in the friend zone. He gives her gloves. Then they have this little like mock fight battle up on the rooftop or whatnot. Next day they're in school. They're at dodgeball. Okay, she's in dodgeball and she gets slammed in the face again with the dodgeball. She's got a bloody nose. And then from that point, people are making fun of her. She gets home. Again, day-night cycle. Again, right? Went to school. Now we're talking, it's been like 3-4 days have passed. So then she comes up with this whole thing while she's at school the next day, right? Writes this whole the whole thing down while her family is doing whatever. They do this whole art style of this comic book style type of stuff. And it's actually, you know, again, stylized and pretty good, right? She comes out. It says this. She goes, "I'm gonna escape my window." She does this backflip, lands like she's imagining like she's gonna be a superhero, but she's not a superhero. She's just a regular girl. She makes her Bruno into Tony Stark because he's a genius or whatnot, but he doesn't want to be Tony Stark when it comes down to reality. He wants to be Bruce Banner. So you see him jump on top of a bus. They're like partying and being superheroes, doing all this stuff, and they're the heroes of their own story. Like, it works out perfectly. And then what happens is they're a mess. Okay, they're a mess. They miss the bus. They nothing happens. Right? She doesn't win the crown of Captain Marvel cosplayers, but in her head the plan works out perfectly. And now this is what reminds me of like Saved by the Bell type of stuff. The way that they outlined the screen, the way the whole scenario was going, the dream sequence or whatnot. And I thought it was it. Like, this is all the good parts of the show. The show takes a big turn for the worse when she becomes Miss Marvel. The editing and stuff kind of goes out the window and whatnot. So as they go, she goes up to the attic to find something because Bruno says, maybe you should make the costume a little bit more Pakistani, right? So she goes up to find the box of where her jewelry was from her grandmother. There's a storm outside. And then this reminded me of like Goonies a little bit, where she finds the map to like One Eye Willie's treasure. She opens up the thing and finds the bracelet and then takes it with her. The next day, it's the day of AvengerCon. Okay, so it's the weekend. She grabs her costume. She's going to sneak out of the house. They're all sitting downstairs having dinner, and then she's just impatiently waiting what's going on. Bruno's outside, says, we got to go. We're going to miss the bus. And she's like, I got to go. She gets up, and she's like, okay, I'm ready. She's a clumsy girl. She runs out the window, grabs the branch, and this fall this is a hospital fall, to be honest with you. But again, it's a show. I get it. Okay. This is a hospital fall. Second story window. She jumps out, grabs the tree branch, and falls. Basically, she's going to have a concussion or something going on here. She lands directly on her back. But I guess those leaves really patted her. Okay, so it's even though that branch is like a lot of weight, and they just kind of pull it off for no problem. Again, this is where it starts to lose what the show is. So they run off. Now they're on the bicycles and they're cruising through the city. They got to catch the bus, and they miss the bus. Okay, you see the bus driving off. It's not like they were going to ride off the bridge to land on top of it, but they had to catch it. So they go down the stairs. They run over there. The bus driver doesn't even wait for them to get on the bus. She can't get it on the thing, and it closes, and that's her bike. And then the writing's like a little weak here. She's like, what's the odds of my bike being there when we get back? And Bruno's like, oh, it's in Jersey City. It's a 0.000 1% chance, the same chance that you have in Diablo Immortal to get a legendary gem. Okay, so they go to the Avenger Con, and then this is where it got a little cheesy for me, right? Like, this looked really cheesy. This the extras and everything about this didn't give a shit about being there. It didn't feel like a Comic-Con or a Mega-Con or any other any kind of con like that. Okay, if she loses the bracelets mid-fight, she's dead. Unless she's fighting a street thug. Well, even then she could die, right? So they all go into the convention. You see what I'm saying? The convention doesn't look like a convention. It looks like a bunch of people like, hey, we're doing a show. Everyone grab a costume and show up to this location type of thing, right? It just felt kind of weird. So they go inside. There's all these convention stuff going on. They're super excited. You see all these really cheesy like cardboard cutouts and different things going on. You could tell the budget was spent a lot on this episode in this one setup here for a set. So you can see them inside the convention, and as they're there, you see the thanks to the sacrifice, and they have a Black Widow and an Iron Man set up. They have a Ant-Man set up. They have a booth for Captain America. They have T-shirts and whatnot. It almost is like what was happening inside the video game that I play when they were on the helicarrier type of thing. And this is where I was like, oh, this would have been an interesting thing if someone attacked here, and then she gets, becomes an Inhuman here. Okay? So while they're here, they're taking pictures, doing all this stuff, and she's like, I got to get ready. The alarm goes off for the camera. They see their parents downstairs in the living room. She's fine. And then she's ready to have the competition of Captain Marvel. She notices the girl that was at school. She comes in to be Captain Marvel. So that's like, I guess, another antagonist of the show where her arch nemesis is a pretty girl in her high school. It's kind of weird. I don't know if she becomes the villain later. I have no idea. So she goes to the bathroom to change. She changed and puts doesn't put the bracelet on, but drops the gloves. Drops the gloves, which is kind of weird because I guess it's going to come back some way down the line. It might be a clue, or like them dropping it here. This might be something later they find because it's got Bruno's name, Bruno Co. on there, that this will be a clue later on to come back in a later episode. Right, so we'll find out who this person is, or who the person that finds these later is. Okay, so as they do this, they have the competition. She gets ready. He's like, "Hey, where's your gloves?" And she's like, "Oh, I left them in the bathroom." He's like, "Oh, you don't have time. You have to get up. You have to get up on the stage." And she's like, "Oh, well, you have the bracelet." She puts on this bracelet, and then all of a sudden, she gets this glow around her. It expands and glows, and there's this whole glowing sequence around her body, but no one sees it, right? It's showing us like what's happening. It's covering her whole body, and then all of a sudden, when it covers her whole body, she has this like moment where all of a sudden she gets flipped, right? And again, that camera movement that happens, the camera shifts and turns with her as she flips upside down, and she sees all these, like, all of a sudden these I don't know if it's like demons or bad guys. I don't know what's happening here when she gets flipped. Okay, she goes through this world, and everyone around her, okay, looks like some sort of, they all look like superheroes. Okay, like this person right back here looks like the Watcher, right? One of these other people looks like a person that looks like Batman or whatever. I understand Batman's not in the same universe, but each one of these people looks like some sort of superhero in the Marvel Avengers esque. I don't know if it's Secret Invasion or Multiverse of Madness or what's going on. Okay, but real quick, everyone looks a little weird, and then all of a sudden she comes back, and then she's back, and she's like, "Oh, did you see that?" I don't know what's going on there. Okay. So puts her helmet on, and then all of a sudden all the Captain Marvels are up on stage. She's up, and then all of a sudden reaches her hand out and then starts to shoot, right? She's got the light in her face, and then she reaches her hand out, and all of a sudden she shoots her powers or whatnot, and gets overwhelmed or whatnot. Again, this is sort of like Turning Red, where she gets a little bit nervous. Bruno doesn't know what's going on, and then all of a sudden she reaches her hand out, and then the power starts to glow and starts to shoot things over people's heads. Now, we don't know what the hell this is. People are recording it on their cell phones or whatnot. People are freaking out. She hits the thing, and then it flies like. Look at this. This is exactly how shitty looking the con looks. Are you ready? Let me get to the point of this guy right here. The Ant-Man helmet is about to fall off. Everyone goes crazy because she hit the Ant-Man helmet. This guy right here makes me laugh. Look, he doesn't care. It's just like nobody in the stands really cares. It felt off with the scene here. The worst part of the show was this convention scenario here where she gets her first powers. So as the Ant-Man head rolls and keeps rolling, it starts to crash into everything and starts to break everything. This is like the really cheesy part of it that I didn't really like too much. She caused the havoc, and at the same time, this giant Thor hammer comes out. And then the girl that hated gets slammed by the hammer and just gets plowed by it. That would kill her. That's an instant death blow. I don't care if it's a light hammer or not. I understand it's not a real hammer, but like she's flying up in the air with this hammer all of a sudden, right? So I didn't really like this. Okay. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, she's up on the thing. She got hit by the hammer, and she's getting tossed. And then all of a sudden it breaks. And as she is getting hit, she gets slammed up against a cloud. She falls. And she reaches out, and she becomes Biggen, right? She has this power of, like, Biggen happening. I don't really like the effect that they're doing on it. But, hey, it's their thing, so they can do what they want. And she catches her, and as she catches her and it hits the ground, her hand breaks, and it like shatters into crystals type of stuff, right? And they all disappear or whatnot. So she saves her. Everyone runs over to her. She looks up to see where she is, and she disappears because Bruno picks her up and takes her. And she doesn't know who she is, right? She asked her earlier, do you do parties or whatnot? But that's basically it, right? So they leave the Comic-Con, they get into the house, and as she walks through the front door, or goes through her, sorry, not the front door, her window, her mom's waiting for her inside the bedroom. And at this time, her mom's like very disappointed in her. I don't recognize you. You're not my little girl anymore. I've seen this happen when people get obsessed with their fantasies. She doesn't want her to look to look at these Captain Marvel character anymore. Up until the end of this show, okay, she lays down in bed. She looks at her powers, right? She looks at her powers like this, and she says cosmic, okay. So now she's never going to take off the bracelet. And if she takes off the bracelet, it's I don't know. It's kind of weird that it's the bracelet. It's just weird to me. Okay. Looks at her powers, and then there's a mid-credit scene. Okay, there's a mid-credit scene that happens where these FBI agents or something in a police or some sort of organization, I'm not really too sure who they're part of. Maybe you guys can fill in the gaps for me. They're like, oh, girl at AdventureCon. That's where all the geeks and stuff go. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, yeah, we definitely got to bring her in. Right? Yeah, we got to bring her in. Now, I don't know who this person is, but what organization this is. Is it just FBI? Is it Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? I don't know what this is. But yeah, the mid-credit scene was the cops from No Way Home. I assume to be Skrulls or Kree who are doing things with superheroes. Oh, were these people in the No Way Home? Oh. That's true, Stealth. Are you saying toys as far as the bracelet? You can't sell a power if you don't have, right? You could sell a bracelet for toys. That's true. I totally forgot about these two characters. I totally forgot about these two characters. All right, so there you go. So overall, I'm not interested in the show as a Marvel fan. But just watching the show, the 35 to 40 minutes of the 49 minutes, it was actually a pretty decent opening of telling us and establishing the characters of a brand new character. I know more about this character right now, okay, in this very first episode than I know about Shang-Chi in the entire film, right? I know more about this character and her family and her friends than I know about Reva in 4 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, okay? So in 40 minutes, I think they've done a really good job of explaining on who Kamala Khan is. I don't like how she got her powers with the bracelet. I don't like the way the powers look. I do like the editing in the show, okay? I know it's not meant for me, but I do appreciate the way they're editing it and how she is. The acting in the show, I like the whole family dynamic, okay? It's like this cheesy yet realistic type of family bonding type of stuff. I really like how do you pronounce her name again? It's Ima Vellani. So I think Vellani is doing a very good job acting. I do. I don't think the script is the best. I think there's some really bad lines and what they're doing, but directing, the acting, the editing, the cinematography, it's actually probably some of the best out of all the series. And do you know why I think it's the best? Because there wasn't any really special effects, like gigantic special effects. It was just telling a character's story. Yes, the drawings on the wall and stuff like that, and there's effects going on, but most of the stuff was done practically because it was just a normal film in the beginning. When they started putting the special effects in with her powers, that's when it kind of went off for me. I was like, I don't really like what's happening here. And that's what looks really bad and kind of brought down my overall view of this episode. I thought the first part, if this was a 2-hour film or an hour and a half film and this was the origin story of Miss Marvel, I think it would have been really good. It's the first episode, and if they stick with what they're doing so far in this first episode, it's a good start. But at the same time, I don't like the visual effects they were doing with her powers. The visual effects they were doing with the arts on the buildings and the art and the drawings on the screen and the special effects of the emojis when they're texting and stuff like that, all that stuff was great, and most of it was practical. The special effects in the Comic-Con or the Avenger Con at the end is what was like the weakest part of this thing. Overall, I like it. I can't really criticize too much. There's not anything bad that happened in it, like terrible that happened in it. But then again, I'm coming in with fresh eyes on this character. I'm not in love with like the Obi-Wan and Star Wars like I am, so I can't be as critical of a brand new thing. Now, come episode 2 or 3, if they start to waver or do a little bit of things differently, or the effects don't get better, we'll see what happens. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised with this. I wouldn't say it's a super show, but I think it's actually a pretty decent show. It's a pretty decent show. First episode of the new show, of a new character. I don't have any interest in the character. Okay? I don't see myself being a fan of Miss Marvel moving forward. But at the same time, I don't think this is at this moment, a crap show. But then again, I'm an outsider looking in. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know anything about the character. And they did tell a story in this first episode. They told a story, a beginning, a middle, and end for this one episode. And then there's also a bigger story that needs to connect to. So these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. We will do a call-in section of this show. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. You can always help us out if you're watching this after the fact over on Nerding with 30. You can go over to 30 and Still Gaming, hit the subscribe button on both channels, and we'll see you guys on the next one. We'll be doing another one of these next Wednesday at around 9 or 10 p.m. In the evening. I appreciate it very much. Don't go anywhere. We will have a conversation. If you're waiting in the live chat right now, I'm just going to have the credits end, and then I'll see you guys in just a second. Appreciate it for watching.